James Pitzen lives in a no man's land between heartache and hope.
I know he's alive. He's alive somewhere.
Every day watching and waiting for the return of his missing son.
I just can't wait till he comes home. I want him to come home. I want him to be with me.
Trying to fathom the tragic mystery of how and why his precocious only child, 6-year-old Timothy, could disappear without a trace.
So you think this is well thought out?
I think it's, definitely well thought out. To have him disappear the way he did, it's definitely well planned out.
And all at the hands of Timothy's own mother, James's wife, Amy Pitzen, in a shocking story that breaks on national television.
We are all hoping and praying that Timmy is found alive tonight.
And with the mystifying message she leaves behind.
There is nothing you could have said or done that would have changed my mind.
Leaving only the shadow of a clue about the fate of her little boy.
How could she have done this, and where is Timothy at?
Little Timothy Pitzen was always the apple of his father's eye.
So Tim was a gregarious, extrovert type of person.
Oh yeah, get along with everybody, running down the street, always happy, always fun to be around, always looking for the next adventure.
And now when James Pitzen closes his eyes, he can still see his son, Timothy, in the car as he drives into kindergarten, early on a spring morning in Aurora, Illinois.
I dropped Timothy off at school. He hopped out the back seat and ran off to school.
And that's the last he's seen of Timothy to this day.
I said, "Love you, buddy," and he goes, "Love you too, Dad, and I'll see you later." I'm like, okay.
Less than an hour later, a surveillance camera captures Timothy's mother, Amy Pitzen, as she signs him out of school, claiming a family emergency. It is the beginning of a tragic journey that's end is still unknown. And as James returns to pick up Timothy after school, he has no idea how bad it is going to get.
I go pick Tim up from kindergarten and take him to daycare. So I pull up by the school and his teacher goes, "Timothy left like 8:30. I'm like, "What do you mean he left at 8:30? I go, "I want to see the logbook and who checked my son out of school," because I'm like, "It's supposed to be here." And
alarmed, James checks back at home and at Amy's job, but there is no sign of his estranged wife or Timothy.
I need to figure out what's going on. I called Amy's cell phone a couple times, always went to voicemail. I'm like, "Just tell me that you're fine, just call me. What's going on?"
So you spent that first night having no idea where they were?
Yeah, no idea where they were. I called her mom, I called her dad to see if she'd been there. And I'm like, okay, so she's upset me for some reason. She'll need some time to cool down. But so the next morning comes around, they're still not home. So I called the police department and report Amy and Timothy missing.
Another day passes with James left in the dark, and then a sign of hope. Amy does not contact her husband, but she checks in with her mother.
She said, "Well, we're fine. We'll be home in a day or two. Just I just needed some time alone to figure out and try to think about how to approach this."
Amy also calls James's brother.
I have no idea why she called my brother. He could hear Timothy in the background playing or hanging out.
But there is one part of that relayed conversation that will ring in James Pitzen's ears for a long time to come.
What'd she say?
Timothy's fine. Timothy's belongs to me. Timothy and I will be fine. That Timothy is safe.
Timothy belongs to me? Did your brother find that strange?
Yeah, he called me about it.
James admits he and Amy were struggling, but had no idea how much until the mystery unfolds later. At first, he figures police will soon find his wife and son. Then he can finally sit down with Amy and sort everything out.
At least you know that they're
together.
safe.
They're together and safe, and nothing's gonna happen. So the cops are looking for him. I figured that everything would be fine and we'd be one big happy family again.
And sure enough, 3 days after their disappearance, there is a knock on his door. It's the police, and they definitely have news. They have found Amy Pitzen in nearby Rockford, Illinois. and she is dead by her own hand. Now James Pitzen is reeling in shock.
As soon as the police officer said that they found Amy deceased, I was like, excuse me? And I'm like, what do you mean she's deceased? And I was in total shock at the time. And they told me where she was found in a little cheap little motel.
How did Amy die?
She had a razor blade knife and she cut herself.
Then the second piece of bad news drops, and James's heart sinks. Little 6-year-old Timothy was not with his mother, and he is nowhere to be found.
And I'm like, well, there's something going on, and you have to find Tim. I mean, you have to find Timothy. I mean, you just can't stop here.
Up next, police retrace Amy's fateful journey with her son. What is behind her shocking suicide? And the baffling last note she left behind is all she has to say about the fate of her son Timothy.